Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting right up to speed. We take the sources, pull out the key info you need. Simple as that.
And today, we're diving into Aung Tu. She's a 20-year-old Vietnamese entrepreneur, and incredibly, she's already running 3 businesses.
Free, yeah. Wild.
Our source is a Vietcetera YouTube interview with her. And our mission, basically, to get inside her head a bit, understand her take on career, school, life, and pull out things you can actually use.
Exactly. Not just telling her story, but figuring out the why. Okay, so let's start with just who is Aung Tu? How does she see herself? Her nickname, Alhon, is pretty interesting right off the bat.
Yeah, it is, because it wasn't like a childhood thing.
Hmm?
She felt disconnected from her given name,
Yeah.
Aung Tu.
Okay.
Then she saw Ao listed as a Vietnamese surname in a temple, and apparently something just clicked. It gave her the sense of ownership, it became her name. Makes you think how a name can shape identity.
Totally. It's like taking control of that personal narrative. And that search for self seems to connect with a tarot reading mentioned in the interview, the Four of Swords.
Right, which often points to, well, needing to step back, inner reflection, maybe some stuff bubbling under the surface.
And the timing lined up?
Perfectly.
Yeah.
She said she was actually taking a break from her TikTok work then to kind of reevaluate her path.
Ah.
It shows she gets that it's not all about pushing forward. Sometimes you need that pause, that check-in. For you listening, maybe it's a reminder that even high achievers need to hit pause sometimes for, clarity.
Good point.
Hmm?
And it's almost surprising, given the image the interviewer mentioned, polished, educated, very put together now.
Yeah.
But her childhood sounds completely different. Climbing trees, catching fish, sleeping in a hammock. Really adventurous.
But it does sound quite rugged. And maybe that early boldness, that connection with nature, kind of built the foundation for her drive now.
Hobie.
Because her main motivation now seems to be this real hunger for learning. Constantly meeting new people, seeing new cultures, just expanding her knowledge.
And not just for herself, right?
No, that's key. She wants to share it, make a positive impact somehow. It's like this outward-facing goal fueled by inner curiosity.
But she's also realistic. She mentioned a big obstacle, or maybe just a priority right now, finishing her current commitments, specifically getting through her second year at Foreign Trade University before going all in on content creation.
Right, which shows a certain groundedness, doesn't it? She sees the value in finishing what she started, even with other exciting things pulling at her.
Definitely. Which brings us nicely to her views on career and entrepreneurship, especially since she's nearing graduation, which apparently surprised the interviewer.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily expect someone already running businesses to still be focused on finishing their degree in the same way.
And her perspective on what her parents expected from her education, it's not the usual story.
How so?
Well, instead of intense pressure for top grades, they apparently emphasized extracurriculars, pursuing interests, really understanding knowledge and how to apply it. Practical stuff.
Oh, that's refreshing. So nurturing the whole person, not just the student.
Exactly. And their hopes for university were similar. Gain knowledge, sure, but also build that network, professors, other students, and find her own way. Tools for life, basically.
Makes sense. And then another tarot card came up for a career, the Six of Pentacles.
Okay, that one's often about sharing, giving back resources, success.
Precisely. And it ties directly into this story about a hackathon she was involved in recently.
Yeah, she was a sponsor.
Yeah, but her definition of sponsor was interesting. It wasn't just money. It was her time, her effort, her empathy, really.
Yes.
She related to the student organizers, remembered how intense that kind of work is,
Yeah.
the lack of sleep.
Been there.
Right. So she wanted to help. And her way of helping was, well, unique.
Teddy bears.
Almost 300 teddy bears. Just a little something to ease the stress. And her motivation was purely the joy of giving. No strings attached. She said the reaction was like giving out free rice, just pure enthusiasm.
Wow. That really tells you something. It makes you think, doesn't it? About how you can contribute in ways maybe you haven't considered.
It's a great illustration of her character. And this drive to make an impact, she feels it runs deep. She mentioned her father. He was apparently a protest leader back in the day. Strong leadership qualities. She feels that desire to lead, to connect people. That's almost genetic. In her blood, she says.
I think you can see it in her approach, that proactive stance in group work, wanting to support others. It definitely feeds into her entrepreneurship.
For sure. And she's had 3 projects already. The first 2 were maybe more lighthearted, she said, but the second one grew really fast, maybe too fast for her to handle at that point.
Sounds like a classic scaling challenge. Good learning experience, though.
Absolutely. And having gone through that, you wonder how she views university now, probably with a different lens, right?
Yeah.
Maybe looking for specific skills she knows she needs.
Yeah, it makes you think. Does she worry about peaking too early? You know, like that actor, Ke Huy Quan. Huge success young, then decades of struggle. Is there a concern her early wins might overshadow what comes next?
That's a fascinating question. And she actually did touch on a downside of early success. Complacency.
Ah, resting on your laurels.
Exactly. Feeling a bit self-important, maybe, and it cost her. She admitted she missed opportunities because others moved into her market while she was sort of focused inward.
Oof. A tough lesson, but valuable.
Definitely. Stay agile, stay hungry. Especially in the online space in Vietnam, she mentioned dealing with copying is a real issue.
Right, which means your brand has to be about more than just the look. It's got to be values, authenticity, stuff that's hard to replicate. A key takeaway for anyone building a brand, really.
Totally. Build that deeper connection. Now, what's interesting is, despite having these businesses, she still plans to get a job.
Really? Why?
Not because her ventures failed, but because she wants to learn from others. She feels there are limits to being purely self-taught. She wants mentors, teachers, she called them, to help build good work habits.
That shows real humility, doesn't it? Knowing there's always more to learn.
It does. And her criteria for that ideal job: a boss with a strong vision, a positive environment, and crucially, a product she actually believes in.
So it's about meaning and growth, not just a paycheck.
Seems that way. She also talked about learning different things as an employee versus an entrepreneur. As an employee, she learned, well, humility again, discipline, following directions, and seeing how her specific work fits into the bigger picture, affecting the company's success and her own earnings.
Right, that direct connection.
And she shared this great story from when she was a travel guide. Not about the money, but the incredible cultural insights she got just from talking to travelers, learning about Chilean wines, Peruvian culture, things you just can't get from a book.
Wow, yeah. Experiential learning at its best.
Exactly. It really highlights that for her, work is primarily about those learning opportunities, that growth.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about love and relationships. The interviewer apparently brought this up with a Vietnamese saying about romance being unpredictable.
Yeah, fitting. And Hara's own criteria for what attracts her seem to have shifted over time, which is pretty normal, I think.
What was the shift?
Initially, it was intelligence in specific fields, but then she found herself just consistently drawn to, well, good looks.
Refreshingly honest.
Isn't it? And the tarot card for love reflected some complexity, too. It's just at learning, new energy, attraction, but also maybe some indecision, uncertainty. Multiple options, perhaps.
Interesting. So how does she approach relationships generally?
Her philosophy seems to be tui duyen, which is kind of like, let things happen naturally, trust the flow. She used this metaphor of raindrops falling, each landing perfectly where it's meant to.
That's quite poetic. So embracing serendipity.
To an extent. But when it comes to something serious, she's more considered. She values consistent effort from a partner, time, care, taking responsibility. It needs to be reciprocal.
Which makes sense, especially being young, ambitious. Finding someone who can grow with you, offer that lasting partnership, that's tough.
It really is. It takes maturity on both sides, a shared vision.
But she does believe in true love, right? Based on her parents.
Oh, yeah. That story's amazing. Her dad apparently went to the wrong house looking for his friend, knocked on the neighbor's door instead, and met her mother.
No way. That's incredible. Okay, I can see how that would bolster your faith in destiny.
Totally. Now, given her strong personality, that business drive, how does that play into romance?
Good question.
She acknowledges she has a lot of masculine energy, meaning assertive, maybe dominant in business.
Yeah.
So in a relationship, she looks for a partner who's understanding, patient, someone who can yield sometimes because she knows she's naturally assertive.
So seeking balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she even said she's consciously trying to cultivate her feminine side, perhaps meaning more nurturing or receptive qualities in that context.
It's interesting self-awareness. And what about feeling loved herself? Where does that come from?
Primarily, it seems, from her family. She described them as strong, happy, a constant source of love and acceptance, which means she's maybe less reliant on getting that validation solely from a romantic partner.
That's a healthy foundation. But her life is so busy. Does she worry about having time for love? Or even just family?
She acknowledges it. The time commitment for self-development, keeping up family ties, visiting grandparents' graves, talking to her parents, plus friendships. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So a partner needs to be supportive, not another demand on her energy. She said she's past the stage of needing, like, clingy relationships. She wants mutual support, but also independence.
Sounds mature. And how does she show love?
Through acts of service, mostly. Seeing a need and stepping in to help. Very practical, very caring.
Which brings us back playfully to the teddy bear question. If someone gave her one.
Huh? Yeah, her reaction was described as kind of indirectly enthusiastic, hinting that, yeah, given her business, that might actually resonate. A nice little human moment.
Definitely. Okay, so wrapping things up, what's next for Alawantu?
Well, the big plan is moving to Ho Chi Minh City,
Yeah.
but only after she's finished her groundwork in Hanoi. She used this term, gakbia.
What does that mean?
It implies, like, finishing everything neatly, tidying up all the pieces before moving on, setting the stage properly for the next act.
Got it. A deliberate transition.
Exactly. And the focus in Saigon, career growth, building her personal brand even more alongside the business stuff. She's clearly got big plans.
No kidding. She sounds like a real force.
Absolutely. Huge thanks, metaphorically speaking, to Owie for sharing so much insight into her world entrepreneurship, learning, life. It's been really fascinating.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what she does next.
And maybe for you, listening, the final thought is about that balance all seems to navigate. Planning versus serendipity. How much do you map out, and how much do you leave open to those unexpected encounters, those shifts in direction, like her parents' meeting or her own career pivots? Where might your own unexpected growth come from? Something to chew on.